Well, good afternoon. Happy summer, live from Texas. This is the Will Cain Show. It is all smiles and a thumbs up for the biggest deal ever made. That's what President Trump calls his landmark trade deal with the European Union. The White House, though, calling him by a new nickname, Deal Maker in Chief.
We made a lot of deals in the last couple of months. And then ultimately, as you might as well know, we're going to just, because we have, you have 200 countries, more, but people don't know that. You got a lot of countries. And I wouldn't want to sit down with 200 people and have to deal the way he was calling me all the time. We want this, we got to have that. These are tough negotiators. These are, look, they're smart people, they're tough negotiators. They know what they want. And, but we're going to be setting a tariff for essentially the rest of the world. And that's what they're going to pay if they want to do business in the United States.
75 minutes, though. In just 75 minutes, President Trump secured a trade agreement that even the EU says it's good for everybody.
We have a deal. We have a trade deal between the two largest economies in the world. And it's a big deal. It's a huge deal. It will bring stability. It will bring predictability. It was tough negotiations. I knew it at the beginning, and it was indeed very tough, but we came to good conclusions for both.
It's good that everyone is happy. But one ambassador telling the Financial Times there is no hiding the fact that the EU was rolled over by the Trump juggernaut. Trump worked out exactly where our pain threshold is. So why the underwhelming response here at home? Vice President J.D. Vance predicted this would happen yesterday on X. He said the entire European press is singing the president's praises right now, amazed at the deal he negotiated on behalf of Americans. Tomorrow, the American media will undoubtedly run headlines like, Donald Trump only got 99.9% of what he asked for. And of course, the mainstream media delivered J.D. Vance's prediction right on cue. Here's CNN. Trump's EU deal averts disaster, but few are cheering. Well, I don't know if we would call it cheering, but an admission might be the right verb or noun. I'm finally willing to admit, some are suggesting, Trump was right.
Look, the stock market is at record highs. I know not everybody lives by the stock market, but I also drive around. I don't see a country in a depression at all. I see people out there just living their lives. And I would have thought, and I got to own it, that these tariffs were going to sink this economy by this time, and they didn't. So, how do we deal with that fact? Because that's the fact.
Don't beat yourself up, Bill. You're not unlike most of the economists and experts who have been terminally wrong over the last, say 5 to 10 years. So what's actually in this deal? Let's head over to the wall to take a look at this big deal made by President Trump. First of all, the U.S.-EU trade deal, $750 billion investments in U.S. energy, $600 billion in investments here at home in the United States. The EU also agrees to purchase more U.S. military weapons. The big note, 15% tariffs across the board. That includes autos. Now, here's where we were before. In case you're wondering where this started, if we know now today we're at 15%, where did we start? Well, the initial tariffs before Liberation Day were roughly 1.5% on EU exports. After Liberation Day, those tariffs went to 20%, reciprocal tariffs. Now, it was proposed to go to 50% by July 9th, come back down to 30% by August 1st. That all now has been averted. It got me wondering, well, what are the biggest imports? What are the biggest products we deal with when dealing with the economy in the European Union? Here are your biggest imports in 2024. You've got pharmaceutical products. There are some questions about what the tariff's effect will be and whether there will be an exemption for pharmaceuticals. Nuclear reactors, boilers, and machineries, of course, automotive. And then electric machinery, sound, TV equipment, medical and surgical instruments. Trump's trip has been mostly work, but there's also room for a little play. What you see there is the president's security team debuting the brand new Golf Force One. That's an armored golf cart protecting President Trump there on the course. Pretty cool. The big EU deal joins a list of deals already secured, including the UK, Japan, Vietnam, Indonesia, and the Philippines. Perhaps more, though. still on deck. So we know this is a big deal for America, but is it a big deal for everyday Americans, for you, right now, watching at home? We know it will benefit the folks on Wall Street, but how does it affect people on Main Street? Let's figure that out with the host of Making Money on Fox Business, Charles Payne. Charles, great to see you here today. Let's start there. Everyone's watching you right now. They watch you over on Fox Business. They see these big deals. They see these numbers I just put up on the board. How is it going to hit their pocketbooks?
Well, the investments, the $750 billion natural gas. Think about all the folks in America who work in the natural gas and the fossil fuels industry that just a year ago, the White House was trying to put out of business completely. So the money from that alone is going to be phenomenal. $600 billion invested in America. Foreign direct investment, one of the underpinnings of any economy. We're lucky that we're so attractive, but even more so now. That these numbers, they sound, it's, I guess saying $600 billion now rolls off the tongue, but it is enormous. It is absolutely enormous. And again, the whole idea is to rebuild our industrial base. Well, right now, to be quite frank with you, we entered into a protracted war with China. We couldn't produce enough ships. We couldn't produce enough of weaponry. We could not. We've given it all away. Wall Street, by the way, doesn't like this deal. The titans of Wall Street don't like this deal because if anyone eats it outside these foreign countries, it would be Wall Street companies. Now, I want you to think about this. About 20 years ago, the average operating margin for an S&P company was 6.67%. Recently hit 15%, now it's 13%. We've got a stock market since 2009 has been unstoppable, absolutely unstoppable. The fix is in for Wall Street has been the most amazing gravy train in history. Essentially, this plan is to share some of that wealth. Okay, your operating margin may go from 15 to 13%. Your stock will still be okay, but now we're going to reindustrialize the nation. We're going to build factories. We're going to put Americans back to work.
Right. Oh, okay. You said something fascinating there as well. You said many fascinating things, Charles, but one of the things you said almost as an aside is that $600 billion just sort of rolls off the tongue. When we talk about government policy, government spending, or these investment deals, we're talking trillions, we're talking hundreds of billions, and it is hard, to your point, to actually conceptualize how much money that actually is. The reason I bring that up is President Trump brought up, Charles, the idea of a rebate. We're bringing in, according to Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, potentially, what is it, $7 trillion over the next 10 years in tariff revenue. So the question is, what's going to be done with that money? Here is something that was recently said by President Trump.
We have so much money coming in. We're thinking about a little rebate, but the big thing we want to do is pay down debt. But we're thinking about a rebate. That's a very good question. You just made a lot of news. We're thinking about a rebate because we have so much money coming in from tariffs that a little rebate for people of a certain income level might be very nice.
So it's $700 billion is what Lutnick has said, Charles, about how much we're bringing in annually from tariff revenue. Project that out over 10 years. That's $7 trillion. What do you think of that, though? We should probably be paying down our debt, controlling our deficit. What do you think about the idea of a rebate?
Well, it's a two-pronged thing. Obviously, bringing down the debt, and again, this is one of the reasons also President Trump has been pretty hard on Powell. We don't want the interest rate to be so high that it's $1 trillion. But also, if there's one niche of Americans who have been in the squeeze, so to speak, it's small businesses. Now, listen, when we rally the wagons around small businesses, we have to be careful because we're really rallying the wagons around the status quo. And I bring up the textiles industry, for instance. Less than 50,000 Americans working there. Not long ago, was 500,000 Americans, right? So, yeah, we want to save the furniture makers in North Carolina, but not to the detriment of allowing China to continue to abuse us, because soon it would be zero. But how do we help these individual stories? Because all of us know a small business or an industry that's sort of caught in a squeeze. National Federation of Independent, NFIB, saw their enthusiasm go through the roof after the election. It's pulled back a little bit. They believe in President Trump. They back President Trump. So if there's any way of sort of helping any group, a niche, get over the hump, it would be something like that in my mind. But I think the bulk of this money, to your point, will go to pay down or offset anything on the debt.
All right. Always smart, always great. Charles Payne. Thank you, Charles.
All right. Thanks a lot.
All right.
See you soon.
All right, now some top stories of the day that you may have missed. And we've got Kevin Court joining us now with what else is happening.
As always, great to see you, Will. Up first, a very scary incident. You may have seen this over the weekend involving an American Airlines plane. It actually took off Saturday from Denver International Airport, and passengers there had to evacuate that very smoky aircraft after an aborted takeoff. Apparently, it was a mechanical maintenance issue that caused the landing gear to catch fire. Wow. Thankfully, 173 people were all on board. All were accounted for on the tarmac. One person did go to the hospital with minor injuries. American Airlines says they've taken that aircraft out of service to be inspected, and I think that's very good news. Up next, the University of Colorado's head football coach, Deion Sanders, stunning the college football world today, announcing that he's been cured of bladder cancer, and now he has his eyes set on the 2025 season.
Without wonderful people like this, I probably wouldn't be sitting here today. The decision I made and the surgery I chose was based on not just family, it was based on football. I didn't want to be going weekly to the hospital while I know I got practices. So football is in there. My faith is number one.
Sanders had his bladder removed after doctors found a malignant tumor. His medical team speaking out today about his outlook.
We removed the tumor. It was very high grade, invading through the bladder wall, not into the muscle layer, and I am pleased to report that the results from the surgery are that he is cured from the cancer.
Coach Prime, cancer-free, looking forward to the season, urging everybody to get tested regularly. Good luck to him, Sco Buffs. And finally, she's back at it again. New York AG Letitia James teaming up with a coalition of states to sue the Trump administration. Officials from 20 states, in fact, announcing a lawsuit today taking aim at the Department of Agriculture over requests that states release data on applicants for Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. That's better known as SNAP.
For decades, SNAP has prevented people from going hungry and saved countless lives. But now, this administration is attempting to use this program as a tool in their cruel and chaotic targeting of immigrants. It is outrageous. It is unacceptable.
There they go again. Officials claim the data will be used to target illegal immigrants, or some would say illegal aliens. They also claim it will be an invasion of privacy. See you in court, is what everybody in Washington's going to be saying soon, Will.
How dare they? Outrageous that the government would audit whether or not taxpayer dollars are going to illegal immigrants and finding illegal immigrants. Hey, Kevin, you're a Buffalo, right? Don't I remember that about
yes,
you?
I am.
That
got it
rolled
right.
off the tongue. Yeah, that go Buffs. Oh. That rolled off the tongue.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate that.
Best wishes to Coach Prime.
Good to see you, man.
All right.